Hello and welcome to the Arteries, a weekly podcast where we chat to people involved in the arts about the particular set of circumstances, influences and choices that have built up their point of view, their artistic outlook. I'm your host, Noël Duplaa. This week on the show, I'm chatting with one of my favourite artists, Claire Michelle O'Connor. We chatted about everything from her knowing she wanted to be an artist from the age of 4, her love of conceptual art, the definition of limerence, and her bang bang brain. So let's jump right in. Claire Michelle O'Connor. Hi Claire.
Hi Noël.
Welcome to our podcast. Okay, where'd you grow up? Where were you born?
I am from a small village north of Dublin called Skerries.
Okay.
I went to school in Mount Temple Comprehensive, and then I went to university in Limerick for 4 years to study painting, fine art, and then I did my postgrad in NCAD.
What's your family situation?
My dad was an artist when he was younger. He was a very, very, very talented artist, and my mother is really kind of heavily involved in craft.
Okay.
And so we would have grown up in a really artistic house.
So your dad would have been like very in the painting side of things.
Yeah, I would have got my draftsman skills from dad. So like my technical ability, I would have got a lot from my father. Dad got into art college. He wanted to go to art college and got in, but he realised he'd have to sell his car. So he decided not to go to art college.
Just went with the car.
Yeah, he wanted the car. My mother grew up in Birmingham, and she grew up at a time where you couldn't really study art, or there wasn't that many options open to her. So she left school at 15. And after that, she decided to join the army because it was a place for a career for her. They trained her up as a paramedic. And she then later became a nurse. But the whole time she was doing that, she was still creating lots of crafts, cross-stitch, paper mache, anything to do with the craft side. Mum would have been really heavily involved in. And since she's retired, Mum has this beautiful studio set up in the house. So she is making a lot of her own quilts and selling them, and her stuff is just beautiful. And Dad refuses to paint ever.
Why is that?
Because of me. He won't paint now because I got into art, and he said that he won't do it. This is where I get this from, the stubbornness when it comes to making things. Everything has to be perfect. Dad won't paint because I'm the painter in the house now. So, and he won't let me teach him because apparently I'm real condescending when I teach. So
I'm shocked to hear this. And what's your profession?
My profession is teacher. So I'm a teacher. I teach art.
So how do you get on with your parents?
Really well. Okay. Really, really good relationship with my parents. We're really close. And my sister as well. And I'm very lucky I have a small family in Ireland. My Irish family, I only have 4 relatives in Ireland, and we're all brought up incredibly close. And I'm really lucky that the Irish side of my family the majority are writers and musicians.
Right.
So I grew up in a really lovely kind of artistic family where my interests were really, really like encouraged, and all of us were encouraged to play instruments, to write, to musical pursuits, to art. So I'm very lucky to have grown up and been very close to my family, and they really supported all of our artistic endeavours.
Did you ever mess around with musical instruments, or?
I got a drum kit when I was, oh God.
Jesus.
I know. I was in an all girls punk band.
Really?
I was, yeah.
For how long?
For about a month and a half.
What were you called? Go on, it's going to be the best name, isn't it?
It was the Wonder Bras.
Wow.
So yeah, that didn't go well. The drum kit's it's actually in the bar now in my parents' house.
Awesome.
Yeah, my dad started to play, so Dad started to play the drums.
So this all-female punk band, what kind of year was that in?
I was 13. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it was
just coming into secondary school.
I think I got fired from it as well.
You got fired?
I did get fired because I sucked. Yeah, but I didn't even know. My friend had to tell me that she overheard the 2 girls from the band talking about how crap I was, and I wasn't allowed to be in the band anymore.
Oh no, that's so bad.
It is. It's
you
really
got fired secondhand.
I know. Yeah. So they stopped calling. But yeah. So that's how I found out I wasn't in a band anymore, and that was the end of my musical career.
Okay, and in school, so obviously art, music, that kind of stuff. How were you? Were you anything academically or? I've
known since I was about 4 what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I didn't know exactly what it was called, but I knew I wanted to do it. In school, there's this weird thing when you go to art college. No one accidentally goes to art college. You're not in a room full of people who didn't do anything else in CAO and
got forced into it by their parents.
Everyone in our college knew they wanted to go to our college since they found out what our college was.
Yeah.
It was just this shining light to get you through your education. So I've known what I wanted to do since I was 4, and it depends on what time in my life you caught me at, but it was always around the arts. I wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to be like different kind of things around the art world. Yeah, so I know what I wanted to be when I was 4. My first job I've ever had was when I was 15, was teaching art.
Okay.
Yeah, so that
where was it? Was that within?
In Skerries. So yeah, there was after school care for after school classes, for primary school students in Rita Somerville's craft classes, and she hired me to teach with her, which was lovely.
That's all. So you're in school. I assume you're doing fairly well at the art side of things. You come out.
Yeah, no. To be honest, I was and I wasn't. In school, I was really single-minded, and I don't know. School wasn't really for me.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to be an artist, and I wanted to do that. I found the school curriculum in school quite restrictive. It worked for me because I'm technically I'm a good drawer, so that aspect of it was good, but I was a bit bored in it. And the rest of my classes, if it wasn't helping me get to art college, it don't sound terrible, but I didn't really care.
Yeah.
As a teacher now, looking back, I'm infuriated by a 15-year-old me that didn't care enough. But yeah, no, I think everyone who knew me or who's ever known me has known that I was going to go do this.
Yeah. So it was targeted. So
yeah.
As a result.
Yeah, I had to sit my hands in every other class but art because I would draw so much. And I remember being told in school that I had to stop drawing and I had to pay more attention to French because, you know, it's more important. And I got the last laugh. But but yeah, so I had to sit in my hands, and my sister was really brilliant at art as well. And Katie had to sit in her hands, and we had to, our person next to us had to hand us a piece of paper and pencil to take down notes, and then had to take it off us again. We had to sit in our hands. I even now, at staff meetings and meetings, I'll be drawing, but I'm taking in information. I find it very hard to sit still and look at blocks of information. I find if I'm drawing or something like that, I'm occupied with that, and my mind can let other things in a little bit easier.
Did you get an A1 in art?
I didn't.
What did you get?
I actually don't. I think I got an A2.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Newgrange didn't come up. That is actually the reason I'm so angry about that. The art leaving cert is, to be honest, this will be an entire podcast where I just rant on about how much I dislike the art leaving cert. It's horrendous, and think about it. Okay, so you have a subject, and for a lot of students, this is the one thing that really kind of engages them. And school isn't really made for people who are very artistically inclined. You know, it's not. And the way education is structured, and the way we learn, and the memory tests we have to do, it's not for people. Like I see it in school all the time. So they decided in their absolute brilliantness to make an exam for art that there's a drawing element to it.
Yeah.
So an exam drawing situation. Then there's a 3-week project that you have to submit. Then you have to pass a history test. So you have to be really good at English. Then you have to be really good at history. Then you have to be really good at, you know, being calm in exams. Then you have to be really good at drawing. So I don't know any other subject that you have to have these so opposite talents.
Disparate elements, yeah.
Do you know, so if you're dyslexic and you're now amazing at art, you're going to fail art because you can't, you know, do the art history part.
Is that reflected at all in the way that colleges take in art students? I mean, is that a major part of the entry process? Well,
no. The reason that the way the current syllabus is structured is in the 1970s, art wasn't a leaving cert subject. So you know the history of the whole CEO thing and how that works.
No.
Okay, so before the way you used to get into college is you'd sit a test for each specific course. If you wanted to be a doctor, to say you'd do like things like science and you know, things that would be relevant to your course. But then you do your leaving exams when you leave school, just exams to leave school.
Right.
So they decided, the colleges, to make it easier, that they were just going to use them and point them. which is crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
This is where the CA comes apart. This is why if you want to do medicine, you have to be really good at French for some reason. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. So art wasn't a subject that could be graded like that. So they had to have a written element in order to make an entry for third level.
Yeah.
So what they did is it's 38.5% of your overall mark for the Leaving Cert is a written exam part.
Okay.
And this is required. The syllabus was written in the end of the 60s, the start of the 70s, and it was written by old men at the end of retirement. So in the art course, there's nothing past the 60s. Can you imagine like music only up to the 60s, just before?
Yeah.
And just missing out on everything afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, this is why people hate art. So there's no feminist art on it. There's very few female, if any, female artists. There's very few artists of colour. It's so unrelatable. But they did this anyway. And
that still hasn't been addressed whatsoever.
They have art appreciation, which it's to the discretion of your teacher whether or not they do something like Frida Kahlo, but no, it's not. So you have this syllabus. So which is crazy. And that's your entry. You know that's what you have to do. And it's a memory test and nothing that's engaging. Like there's a gallery visit, which is an option. Which if you have a teacher and if you live in Dublin, if you don't live in Dublin,
yeah.
You know, you're not going to do it.
Just go online.
Yeah, so you're already eliminating a huge amount of people in Ireland or students in Ireland from experiencing what art is. The one thing that I struggle with a lot as an artist, and always have done, is the elitism that surrounds art. It really, really, really bugs me.
And do you mean within Ireland or in general?
Oh, in the world. Like, the world. I work in an art gallery, or I have worked in an art gallery for the last 6 years, and it's a commercial gallery. And it's a very good gallery. And the first thing people come in, when they come in and say to me, now I have a postgrad in art, like I know art, I teach art, I know art history because I'm really interested in art history. Yeah. But the first thing people come in and they're like, I'd like to buy a painting. I'm so sorry, I know nothing about art. I don't know anything else. Or people apologise.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't walk into a record shop or like a music store and be like, do you have any new releases? I'm really sorry, I don't know anything about music. Everyone has an opinion on music and everyone feels confident in their opinion about music. If it's the top 40, if it's, oh no, I don't like all that weird alternative stuff. I like my, Spin FM.
Yeah.
People generally have it and they like the music that they like. Obviously, there's exceptions.
Sure.
But how many people do you know have a strong opinion on art? A confident opinion of art? And people say to me as well, like, oh, art. That Leonardo, eh? And you're like, yeah, he's a dead Italian man. I'm like, Michelangelo. And it's like, yep, all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's just, there's no exposure. And of modern art or any kind of interesting art or engaging art or relevant art, art's not relevant to people's lives the way music is. And I think the reason for that is because there's such an elitism and a pretentious nature that surrounds art.
Okay. And
people think it's not for them. And that's why people apologise. In school, when I'm teaching, it's the first thing people will say to me as well is like the kids, the students, I should say, actually, oh, I can't do it. It's not working. I can't do it. I can't do it. And it's all you ever hear. Like, it's just like, except for professional third levels, students, is I can't, I'm intimidated. I'm so sorry. Everyone just apologizes for not being able to get art.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's so strange for something. And I think that there's a lot of artists that perpetuate that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask actually. Is do you think that like that's something that art is, or the business of art is aware of and perpetuates because that's kind of who you want to be selling to? Like you want it to feel like it's this elite massive important thing so that people will actually spend millions on a painting just to have the privilege of owning it. Like it's kind of that Andy Warhol school of selling, like, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think that who's spending millions on artwork.
I don't know. Queens, Shakes.
But I think in our college, I remember, and there was the first time it really, really struck me, like really struck home. That I just was angry at someone. Was I was talking to them about their piece that they were doing, and it was some conceptual piece, and as just kind of, but how will people understand what you're doing? He's like, well, I'm not making it for people to understand. I was like, so why the fuck are you making it? You know, and he's like, oh, well, if they need to go and study it and maybe check up some of these references and then get, you know, come back and view it like this. And I was like, who do you think you are? Like, why are you spending so much time in order to make people not understand what you're saying and getting, why are you purposely putting these barriers up and making it more difficult for people to be engaged?
I see, like, I found myself both agreeing and disagreeing with you there.
Really?
I think what kind of happens when you're obsessed with something, like I, would be fairly obsessive about music. I'd be obsessive about a lot of things, and I would tend to be someone who's obsessive about stuff or doesn't care about stuff. I kind of, if you're going to get wet, you might as well swim, kind of thing. But when you're obsessive about something, the stuff that you tend to be drawn to tends to be stuff that is written by or done by people who have understood the rules of the art form and then subvert them and play with them, accepting that there are rules for a particular thing and then playing with those rules. Mm-hmm. But then the flip side of it, where I agree with you, is ultimately, if you're making something, you're making it for other people. It's you're making it from yourself, but it's trying to be in some way universal.
I think with the arts, whether it be writing, music, or, you know, traditional or fine arts, I think as an artist, you're a communicator and you're trying to communicate what you're doing, your idea, or you're not making it just for yourself. People make artwork to be viewed. People write for it to be read. People, you know, make music so you can listen to it. And I think that in art, they make it to be viewed, but it's almost if they treat the viewer as stupid, or they. Okay. And I think as a communicator, I think it just falls in. Now, not all art, and I think this might be the teacher in me, and I like people to understand, and it goes back to, I liked knowing how things work. And I was so lucky that when I was in college, I remember on a trip to New York when I was with my university professor, and God bless that man, because I wrecked his head the whole time, because we went into every gallery. I was like, so what does this mean? He's like, just look at it. And I was like, I did look at it. Okay, so what does it mean? And he's like, okay, right, this guy is trying to communicate. And he explained every gallery he went into, he started explaining it to me. Yeah. And this gave me this most passionate love of conceptual art. Okay. And installations, and just this drive and this passion that I love it. The idea of going to a gallery and spending a few hours there looking at installations is just my idea of heaven. And that's because I had someone explain stuff to me and I just didn't write it off. And I'm lucky, but not everybody has that option, or not everyone has that opportunity. And I just feel that, I think in art we're eliminating like half of the audience from experiencing how amazing art can be. So my friend Anya, she's an amazing artist and a watercolourist. She's really, really, really gifted. Her work is beautiful. But she has this lovely story about when people, the minute you say modern art, it's almost like a dirty word. Yeah. When you say modern art and people roll their eyes.
Like it's a trick or something.
Oh, here, like, I could do that. But you didn't. Yeah. But, you know, so she has a story how she explains modern art to people. And, sugar, I forgot the name. I think it's 227 by Martin Creed. So it won the Tape Prize in 2001. Do you know about this?
I don't know.
It's turning a light on and off.
Okay, no.
Okay, so that inspired the Turnip Prize, and there was outcry about it in the Daily Mail, you know. Yeah. It was up in arms
about it. Is this art?
Yeah, you know. So everyone was up in arms about it and really dismissed it, and it was what the hell, like. And to be fair, he kind of said, well, I'm not making it for everybody, and he didn't really explain it. Yeah. Anya was lucky enough to go and see it, and she says it was one of the most mind-blowing things she has ever seen. So you go into this room, and there's 100 or 50 people, or a lot of people in the room, and the light is blinding when you walk in.
Yeah.
It pierces your eyes. It's so blinding. But this is on a timer for every 5 seconds for the light to turn off and turn on. So it turns off and it's in pitch black. And turns on again.
Yeah.
But she goes, the light is so bright that it bleaches your eyes. So when it turns off,
Everyone's still there.
Everyone's still there. And then it turns on again, everyone's moved. And then turns off again. So you're making this beautiful moving picture inside of your head.
That's awesome.
And she said that it was just amazing to experience it. She goes, it's complete sensory overload. So it's just incredible and disorientating and wonderful and such an experience. But you could say it's a light that's being switched on and off.
Yeah.
And he refused to explain it, which I think, yet again, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just put a blurb out and explain what you meant by something? And she experienced this, and it's wonderful. But I think because art isn't explained, people dismiss a lot of art.
I think though, okay, just to be...
Isn't that wonderful though, that like the turning
That's
on
cool.
of, I love it, yeah.
But equally, I kind of think there is that element, like you're saying. I would guess the reason why he doesn't want to explain it. I mean, he may just not have an explanation for it. But the reason he doesn't want to explain it is because it's the experience that he's talking about. And you can't really be like, no, it's really cool. Like if you turn on the light, you have the after effect, and that differentiates with the people as they move. And, you know, if you explain that to someone, someone's able to go, oh, I get what it is. Cool. But unless you're actually in the room experiencing it, you're not getting it. So the point being that he wants you to go in the room.
But what's better then? Is it better to say turning a light on and off and dismiss art in the whole, or oh, that's actually really cool. The light turns on and off. Oh, that's a really smart idea. Which is a better message to have out there?
Well, I know recently we were talking about that whole Cézanne versus Picasso idea that was in revisionist history. So it was like, for people who haven't heard the podcast, Picasso is someone who had an idea in his head of what he wanted to do, then worked towards making that idea exist.
Yeah.
Whereas Cézanne messed, like just kind of experimented. And a lot of your paintings, they're very beautiful, but you can't tell if they're positive or negative.
Yeah, I love that about like the artwork. I love I love this idea of like grotesque beauty. Like I love the idea of something being outwardly beautiful but kind of sinister. I love the idea of sinister in my work, or uncomfortableness and people being uncomfortable but outwardly beautiful. So like I think it generally aesthetically beautiful but slightly off kilt. Like that would be probably the running theme through more or less everything I've ever painted, really.
Yeah.
Just keeps on going back to that, or like similar kind of theme in my work, whether by my degree show, where it was all about censorship and ownership of body and the idea of representing nudes, where they're saying these women, beautiful women, but blurred, or if it's the falling or suspended girls. A lot of women, I tend to paint a lot of women, and all my paintings are named after people I know.
Okay.
So the majority of all my work are given girls' names, and they tend to be friends or people I know. There's a couple of paintings that would have been inspired by men or things about relationships, and only one of them I've only ever painted a man properly twice. But yeah, if you look through my body of work, there's only 2 men would be up, I'd say. There's only 2 pictures of men. There's one called Tic Tac Toe, and it's painted about 4 years ago, and it's a man in bed with Tic Tac Toe painted on his back.
Yeah.
And then the other one is The Falling Man. It's painted on an envelope.
Where he's got the jeans, yeah.
He's falling, and that would be more. That's there's probably the only 2 male-based paintings. Now there's other paintings that have been influenced or inspired by relationships and men, and things like that, but they would be women.
So, is it more that you're painting yourself in that, like emotionally?
Yeah. There would be direct situations that I would be involved with the man, but the man is removed from that situation.
Okay. So, like, let's say bondage. There was that picture that you did of the 2 girls back to back, and they're.
I had no idea in my head that was going to be taken up the way it is. I did that in college. I did that on I was in second year in college, and I was just totally in my own world when it came to that. So it's 2 girls back to back, and they're wrapped with the same bandage. And this whole thing came that I love the idea of bruising. I've always loved bruises. I love the idea that the semi-permanent marking on a skin, like the temporary tattoos. And at that stage of my life, I was 20 and I was going out and I was drinking, and they're almost like a badge of honor when you're that silly and young after a night out. Like, your legs are covered in bruises because you've had the time of your life and you've done something, and because they weren't connected with anything serious, for me bruises were fun stuff. Someone would come in and be like, oh my God, look at my leg, and you're like, oh, what did you do?
Yeah.
And it was all these stories over cups of tea the next day in my friend's house in college, and I just loved this idea of bruising. And then I had the skin really interested me, in this idea of skin twisting and the way you can pucker skin, and I just thought that was beautiful. So I was wrapping bandages really tight around skin, and like whiting out areas and whiting out the night before, and all this kind of idea. And I started painting all these pictures and had no idea that they were so sexual. I actually didn't, and I don't think it goes down to innocence. I don't know what it was. I loved the idea of attachment to my friends and nights out and skin, and it was just purely for the beauty of things.
So that was something you leaned into then, was it, do you think?
I think when I became older though, and kind of had more grown up kind of influences and things like that, and certain situations were a lot more real than they are when they're in college.
Right.
Sex is it's more important, I think. I know people might disagree with that, but more important in relationships and all this kind of stuff. Then nothing is serious in college. Nothing is important. Everything is temporary.
Sure.
You're living in temporary accommodation. You're going to a temporary school. You're with your temporary friends. You're doing temporary everything.
Right.
There's not as much substance when you live in a city and live there with your friends that are here, and you're not leaving, and your job for life. And I think everything is more real once you leave college. Once this bubble, like in college, there's a group of people used to call everyone who wasn't in our college muggles. That just goes to show how much of a bubble our college is. It's the temporary insanity where you're around everybody who's creating, and like things like being like nudity, all this kind of stuff completely loses. For that photo shoot with the girls wrapped, I went up to my friend's house and was like, right, so just want to strip and I'm just going to wrap you with the bandages. Like, yeah. So there's like 5 girls in the sitting room, and everyone's just going to wrap each other with the bandages, and I'm taking photographs, and they're asking upshot, I want to be here with breasts, and we're just doing all this kind of stuff, and the friend comes in and says, what do you do? I was like, oh yeah, no, I'll jump in. That as much as how liberal as my friends are now, that situation wouldn't happen at 29.
That's kind of interesting though, that like, I mean,
you know, when you're in that bubble and in that everything is temporary, like certain situations now are more important. I'd find it harder to probably get someone to pose nude for me now than I would at 20. And sex, I think, as a grown-up, sex is more important. It's more important in relationships. It's everything becomes a little bit more serious the older you get. So I think that's why sex plays into it. The idea of loneliness is far more serious in your 30s than it is when you're 20.
Yeah.
You know, things are more serious the older you get.
The Ham Sandwich EP you did as well. I don't know if we've only talked vaguely, but I remember you called me when you got the commission for it.
I did.
How much of a concept for that was? I assume part of that was based on them looking at your old work and going,
yeah, they're amazing. They're so lovely. They just basically said, we really like your work. Can you come up, listen to the song, let us know what you think? Can you come up with something for us? And I couldn't have asked for like a dream commission, even more than that. Like, it was wonderful. Yeah, it was so lovely. Like, do what you want. And I was like, okay. So I listened to the song, and I did like 3 or 4 different versions of things that I liked, and I sent them a few images, and they went with that one. And like it was really lovely. Like, I kind of painted what I felt in the song. It was nice.
Are you pursuing it initially aesthetically? It kind of sounds like you just have like a strong visual idea, and accidentally
to be honest, it differs from each project. The Imperfect Rhymes one for Ham Sandwich, I loved that song, and I sat and I listened and listened and listened, and I love working on cardboard. I love cardboard. It's just so temporary, and it's not supposed to be painted on. It's not supposed to be pretty, and it's something that you throw away, and it's got no value, and it's got no pretense, and it's a piece. I think that one's painted on the back of a pizza box. Like, it's like it's literally just something in my house, and it's something temporary, and eventually it'll dissolve, and eventually it'll wear away because of the oils, and it's so temporary. And that song is beautiful. Like, I don't know, I wanted to work on something like cardboard for that, and I wanted something floaty.
The part of that I really liked was the idea that you're painting on stuff that the oils are actually going to disintegrate the cardboard.
When I was in art college, when I first started painting on cardboard, the tutor came in and gave out to me for it. He's like, oh, how do you expect to have any integrity in an artist if you're not using materials that are up to a high standard? So I painted the whole degree show on cardboard. I've had a problem with authority from a young age, but and I just thought he didn't get it. Like, I was like, I'm not using these materials because I can't afford good materials. Now, I couldn't afford good materials, but it was a choice. I like the temporary nature of, especially when I'm documenting things that are kind of personal. And the last couple of years, I have been documenting things in my life, and cardboard is fleeting, and these things are fleeting, and it's not permanent, and it's not going. That painting won't exist in 200 years' time. It's cardboard. That's going to be gone. Yeah. Like, and I paint on lots of things I find. I like finding something. I like painting on found things. I painted a lot of my degree show on metal. I went to a scrapyard and found loads of metal. My old childhood home, or a home we used to live in, they took all the doors out, and I got all the doors and chopped them up and painted on the wood.
That's
the
awesome.
Doors. Yeah, so like, I painted a painting about a girl in bed, and it was one of them. It's quite a personal painting. It's it's realization I had. I went out and I got like too drunk, and I did like, the typical stuff you do post breakup, and I was sitting in my bed the day after, and I got like a pizza. I having like a pity party for one, but I was sitting in bed and I was eating this pizza, and I kind of had this lying in bed, and I kind of got this idea for a painting. So I got the pizza box, and I was like, right, this is part of it. This is it. So I put everything into that painting. So it was the box I had when I had this thought that I did this painting, when I had the realization that I framed it up and I put it on, I boxed it off and I gave it away. And it was the whole thing gone, done, out. And then I went on. And I like the things that I paint with, and the material I use it's not just a canvas from a shop.
Yeah.
It's something that's part of the realization or part of it. So that's...
I love that idea.
Yeah, so that's where that one came about. The limerence one, that's painted on the back of, I think it's a healthier dinner now this time. That's painted on the back of something else ridiculous. That's painted on the back, the back of a gift that I was given from someone. And the idea came about it is do you know what the word means? It's the idea of, I'm probably pronouncing it bad because I got it from the internet, so I always was told never make fun of a person who pronounces a word wrong, because it means that they read it instead of heard it. But it's the idea of infatuation, or the idea of being in love, but it's actually not love, it's just infatuation with a person, all-consuming infatuation with no basis of love. In reality, okay. Yeah, so we've all been there. We've absolutely been head over heels in love with someone, but if you take a step back, you're not. You don't really like the person. You love them. It's very, very different. Or you think you're in love, but you're not. So that whole idea was, I got in that wardrobe when I was with that person, and we had a rough patch, and I was lying in my bed and I was checking my phone every 2 minutes. Be like, why isn't I texted? Yeah. So the idea, and then I kind of had that realization. I was lying in bed and like, I want them to text because I don't want to hear from them, but I want them to text because I want them to text me. Yeah. Not because I'm in love with them, but I just and I want them to text me now because I don't want them to win. So it was, I think that's, you know what I mean? Not that I want them to win.
I know exactly what you mean. It's addictive.
I didn't want them to text because I was in love with them. I wanted them to text because I was more infatuated with them or this idea. So I painted this picture and I found this word, and this word fitted in perfectly to what I was feeling. And this wardrobe I bought when, you know, I was with this person, and I just was staring at myself, looking at myself in the mirror, holding the phone, waiting for it. And it was another of them kind of moments. I was like, get it down. So I was in the cardboard that was in my room, and I painted this picture for 3 days and boxed it off and put it away, and that was the end of that.
I love it as well. You kind of, because there's that trick in when you're shooting in film of like frames within frames,
and they're all framed in a box frame.
Yeah,
so they're all in a box.
Frames within frames within frames.
Frames within frames within frames. They're all inside a box. Every one of them is in a box frame. Which, if you don't know what that means, it's where
the thing actually rises out.
Yeah, and the glass in the front. So they're trapped inside that.
Okay.
So
that's kind of perfect.
Yeah, and then there's the other one with Australia, the Exodus, the free falling. There's a whole series I did, and the same with the modern man. The man falling was about summertime. All my friends were leaving, and everyone was emigrating.
Oh.
Yeah, because of kind of what was finances and that. So this modern man was the idea that what is it to be a modern man? Like, there's the pressure and finance, and it's on the back of an official envelope, and it's everyone was emigrating. People couldn't. Good few friends of mine had lost their jobs and had lost employment, and they were forced to emigrate and were in free fall and just didn't know what was going on, and really suffered with their identity as a person and as a man, especially.
Yeah.
That they should be making money and they should be working, and they should be getting these checks, and what are they now? And the shame that they had to leave the country. So that's where that came about. And then the other one, Exodus, is a female version. Everyone was going to Australia and they didn't want to. So it was this temporary cardboard. I scraped it back to the shape of Australia and painted a woman bent in the shape of Australia.
Yeah.
And it was called Exodus. And the idea that her journey and the journey was temporary. Just like the cardboard, just like the material. And it was boxed off as well.
I love that. I love the idea that that's one of two men that you've painted, and the idea is that like that's, but it's like a man at his, like it's an emasculated man, like is the...
Yeah, it's topless as well.
Thanks to Claire Michelle O'Connor for coming in to talk to us today. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on your phone through iTunes, share us around on social media, tell people about us in actual real life, go as high or low tech as you like. Everything is a massive help. And the more people listening, the more of these we can make. All the music for today's show was provided by Glomar. You can find links to all of Claire Michelle O'Connor's online work, and she is available for commissions, on our website, thearteries.org. The show was produced and edited by David Cantan and presented by me, Noël Duplaa. Thank you for listening. This has been The Arteries.